Chosen one. The heavens are shifting. The atmosphere around you is no longer silent. It vibrates with the sound of divine movement. What once felt still, what once seemed forgotten, now trembles with life. You may not see it yet, but the unseen realm has already turned its gaze upon you. Your name has been spoken in the courts of heaven, and the delay that once surrounded you has lost its authority. This is the beginning of what you have prayed for, the moment where waiting turns into witnessing. You have walked through seasons that broke others, yet somehow you remained. You endured storms that were meant to destroy your faith, and through every night of questioning, you still whispered, "I trust you." Heaven recorded that. The tears that fell from your eyes did not vanish. They watered the soil of your next miracle. Every battle, every rejection, every time you felt invisible, those were not wasted. They were divine training grounds, shaping you into someone who could carry the magnitude of this moment. This is not random timing. Heaven does not move by coincidence, it moves by covenant. You have reached a point in your journey where pain has completed its assignment. And now, grace takes over. The weight that pressed against your spirit was never meant to break you. It was designed to reveal the strength hidden within you. What was once heavy is about to become holy. What once looked like loss is about to reveal itself as preparation. Listen carefully, you can feel it. The air around you carries a different weight. This is the breath of God sweeping through your life, rearranging what once seemed permanent. The obstacles that towered before you are beginning to crumble under divine command. The walls that confined you are cracking, and through those cracks, the first light of promise breaks through. Heaven is whispering, "You have overcome." No. As written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 10, "And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast." Chosen one. Restoration has begun. The pieces that felt scattered are being gathered again. What was lost is not only returning, it is returning multiplied. The grace that once carried you through the fire is now lifting you out of the ashes. You are stepping into a divine turnaround, the kind that makes even the enemy fall silent. The same God who allowed the storm is now commanding the wind to still. There were moments when you thought, "I can't do this anymore." Yet here you are. That is proof of your victory. You did not just survive, you overcame. Every attack only confirmed that you carry something precious, something that hell could not destroy. You have been refined, purified, and set apart for such a time as this. The heavens are not distant, they are celebrating you. Now is the time to stand tall. Do not apologize for your resilience. Do not shrink to make others comfortable with your light. You paid for this strength with your pain, and heaven honors that. The shift that began in the unseen will soon be visible in every area of your life. Expect movement. Expect confirmation. Expect favor that cannot be explained. The miracle is already in motion. It is unfolding, even as you read these words. What once took years will now take days. What once seemed impossible will now be easy. The waiting season has expired, and the fulfillment season has begun. The heavens have released your miracle. It is drawn to your faith like light to flame. Chosen one. Take a deep breath. The war is over. You are stepping into peace that makes no sense to the natural mind. The same God who saw you in the valley now walks you into victory. You are no longer under the weight of delay. You are under the flow of divine favor. Heaven has confirmed your name, and earth will soon echo that confirmation. If this word stirs your spirit, do not scroll past it. Take a moment to acknowledge that God is speaking directly to you. Like, share, and subscribe so that this word reaches every other chosen one who needs to hear it in this season. Then type 111 inches, the comments, as your act of agreement, your declaration that the miracle has begun to manifest in your life. The shift in the heavens is real. The silence is broken. The miracle you have prayed for is here. And you, yes, you have overcome. You were never forsaken. Even when the silence grew unbearable, when every prayer seemed to return unanswered, you were never abandoned. Heaven was not ignoring you, it was building you. There are seasons where God hides not to punish, but to prepare. And though the world may have seen nothing but stillness, the spirit within you was being sharpened like a blade. There were nights when you cried out, asking, "Why me?" But you did not realize that the weight you carried was evidence of divine trust. Only those chosen for extraordinary purpose are refined in extraordinary ways. Every unanswered question became an altar. Every moment of stillness, a sacred classroom. You were being taught to hear heaven in the silence, to trust when nothing made sense, to walk by faith when sight failed you. What you mistook as delay was actually design. God was not late. He was aligning. He was weaving your path through unseen corridors, ensuring that the miracle would meet you at the right moment. Not a second too soon. Destiny has a rhythm, and it beats according to heaven's time. When you thought nothing was happening, eternity was ticking in your favor. Your isolation was not abandonment, it was incubation. The world could not see the transformation happening beneath the surface, but heaven could. While you waited, something holy was forming in you, a quiet confidence that can no longer be shaken by temporary storms. The fire you walked through purified your faith until only gold remained. The ancient scrolls remind us, through the words of the prophet Deuteronomy, chapter 31, verse 8, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." And now, that same fire has become your authority. The wounds that once made you weep are now your credentials. They prove that you have survived what others could not. You know the weight of waiting, the ache of believing with no evidence. And because of that, your faith carries a power that shakes the darkness. There were moments when you asked if you had somehow failed, if your prayers had gone unnoticed. But the truth is, you were being hidden for a purpose. God does not reveal treasures before their appointed time. The delay was protection. He kept you unseen so that no counterfeit could claim what belonged to you. Every "not yet" from heaven was really a whispered, "I'm preparing something greater." Not, "Think back on the times you wanted to give up." The nights when exhaustion felt heavier than hope. The days when your faith was stretched thin. And yet, here you are, still standing, still believing. That is not ordinary strength. That is divine endurance. You were carried by unseen hands through every valley, guided by a presence that refused to let you fall. Every closed door was divine strategy. Every delay built endurance. Every rejection refined discernment. And though the process was painful, it was necessary. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. The things you lost were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to teach you how to walk without crutches, to see without guarantees, to love without fear. You were never forsaken. Even when you could not feel His presence, His eyes were on you. The same God who watched over Joseph in the pit, who walked with Daniel in the lion's den, who stood beside the three in the fire, He was there with you, shaping your story into something powerful enough to awaken others. Now, when you look back, you will see it clearly, the fingerprints of heaven on every page of your pain. Nothing was wasted. Every tear became a seed. Every loss, a setup. Every heartbreak, a holy redirection. The silence was not empty, it was sacred. The waiting was not wasted. It was woven with divine precision. You were never forsaken. You were being fashioned into the one who could stand here, right now, at the edge of fulfillment, strong, unshakable, and ready to carry what heaven is about to release. You will soon recognize why it had to happen this way. Every delay was mercy in disguise. Every détour divine direction. What felt like loss was heaven's perfect choreography leading you toward restoration. The light breaking through now is not new, it's revealed. The glory was always in you, waiting for its appointed time to shine through the cracks your trials created. Stand firm. The page has turned, and this chapter begins with redemption. What once held you back now becomes your testimony. Heaven smiles, for you have endured, and your miracle unfolds. The breaking point became the birthplace. You remember it the night you nearly gave up, the moment when hope seemed too heavy to hold. Everything in you screamed that it was over. Yet something deeper refused to surrender. You didn't realize it then, but that moment of collapse was the exact second heaven began to shift things in your favor. When everything fell apart, something within you woke up. The pain that tried to silence you became the sound that summoned your miracle. The breaking point was not your ending, it was your transformation. Heaven often allows things to fall apart, not to destroy you, but to expose what cannot be shaken. You were not breaking down, you were breaking open. You see, the process of becoming chosen is never gentle. It's raw, real, and often lonely. God allows your strength to fail so His power can be seen. You thought you were losing everything, but He was stripping away what couldn't go with you into your next season. Every closed door, every betrayal, every sudden ending, none of it was random. They were sacred disruptions designed to reveal who you truly are. The place where your heart shattered became the altar where new life began. When you reached your lowest point, heaven whispered, "Now I can build." The ashes of disappointment became the soil for destiny. You discovered that even in destruction, divine design remains. What the enemy thought would bury you actually planted you deeper into purpose. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Ein, chosen one. This is the moment where ashes turn to beauty. The heaviness you carried was never permanent. It was preparing the ground for joy. You are walking into the reversal promised to those who refuse to quit. The tears that once fell quietly in the dark are now watering the roots of something glorious. When you hit the breaking point, God didn't turn away. He leaned closer. He saw you there, trembling, questioning, hurting, and in that stillness, He marked you with victory. Your breaking point became your birthmark of divine strength. You may not realize it yet, but everything that came against you only confirmed what heaven already knew. You were unstoppable. There is power in those who have been crushed but did not die. There is authority in those who have been rejected yet refused to harden their hearts. Every scar on your soul now carries a story of survival that will one day set others free. The breaking point taught you how to stand, not in your strength, but in God's. You no longer fear loss because you discovered that you can rise from anything. That is your miracle you overcame before the evidence appeared. You found light in the dark and peace in the storm. You learned that the breaking was not punishment, but preparation for overflow. Do you remember how empty it felt? How final it seemed? Yet here you are alive, growing, radiant. Heaven has already turned your pain into purpose. The same walls that confined you are now the stage where your testimony will echo. Every moment of despair has been rewritten into a declaration of strength. So now, lift your eyes. You are standing in the very place where your breaking birthed something new. You have become proof that grace can grow in ruins. The storm could not end you. It only revealed the warrior within. What once broke you now bows before you. Comment, I rise again. Oh, write those words as your declaration. It is not just a phrase, it is prophecy. Every time you speak it, you align yourself with heaven's decree that your breaking point is over and your rising season has begun. Let those words echo in your spirit until they drown out every lie of defeat. Say them with faith. Say them with fire. And watch what happens next. The world will soon see what heaven already knows. You rose again. The moment you speak, I rise again. The atmosphere shifts. Those 3 words are a covenant, your soul's agreement with heaven's design. Every syllable becomes a spark, igniting resurrection power within your spirit. When you declare them, the weight of the past loses authority. The chains of failure and regret dissolve in divine fire. It's not just recovery, it's transformation. You don't return to what was, you ascend beyond it. Heaven recognizes that sound. It is the cry of victory rising from one who refused to die in the dark. Every angel that guarded you now moves, ushering in the dawn of your new beginning. Hidden battles, holy victories. No one saw the nights you fought through tears, the days you wore a smile while your heart trembled inside. You carried burdens others could not endure. And still, you rose each morning with quiet strength that confounded both friend and foe. Heaven took note, while others saw calm on the surface. The unseen realm witnessed the warfare that raged behind your eyes. You were not fighting for fame or validation. You were fighting for your soul, your purpose, your divine assignment. Every time you chose to forgive instead of retaliate, you won a holy victory. Every time you kept faith when logic said it was over, you shifted the balance of the unseen. These victories may have gone unnoticed by people, but heaven recorded each one. There are battles fought in silence that echo louder than wars. The world applauds. Those moments when you refused to curse God, when you lifted your eyes through tears and said, "He still trusts you," were moments of eternal significance. The unseen world trembled when you prayed in pain, because faith born in suffering becomes unbreakable. The apostle recorded in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. And oh, that glory is upon you now. You earned it not by might, but by endurance. Your silent obedience spoke louder than any sermon. You learned that true warfare is not about shouting at darkness, it's about shining through it. And shine you did. Even when fear tried to drown you, light leaked through the cracks. There were times you thought the battle would never end. Yet every unseen fight produced a strength you didn't know you had. The moments you thought were breaking you were actually building you. Heaven was training your hands for war and your heart for peace. You were learning divine resilience, the kind of strength that cannot be stolen, only revealed. People may never understand the weight you carried because it wasn't theirs to bear. God trusted you with that burden because He knew it would forge something eternal in you. Others might have crumbled, but you stood. Others might have turned bitter, but you became better. The fire that tried to consume you refined you instead. Now, you move differently. You no longer react out of fear. You respond out of wisdom. You no longer seek approval. You carry authority. That is the fruit of your hidden victories. You came out of those unseen wars with deeper discernment, a sharper spirit, and quieter power, the kind that doesn't boast but commands peace by presence. Every sleepless night of prayer was an investment in your future peace. Every battle you fought on your knees prepared you to walk on holy ground. Your faith in secret is rewriting your future in public. Heaven always honors what man overlooks. You fought demons of doubt and storms of despair. You faced attacks that words cannot describe. Yet, through it all, you never lost your identity. The fact that you're still here means you won more wars than you can count. Survival itself became your victory song. You see now why it had to be hidden. God kept your battles private so your victory could be pure. If the world had seen your struggle, it might have claimed your triumph. But heaven wanted the glory to belong solely to Him. Recognition will come later, after the refining is complete, when you no longer need applause to affirm your worth. You've reached that place now. The battles aren't over, but your posture has changed. You no longer fight from fear, you fight from victory. You no longer beg for light, you are the light. The war that once terrified you now serves as testimony. What was meant to crush you has become your crown. Hidden battles, holy victories. Heaven saw every tear, counted every sigh, and honored every choice you made to stay righteous when rebellion seemed easier. Nothing was wasted. The same angels that guarded you in the struggle now prepare to celebrate you in the unveiling. This is what victory looks like, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of grace in the midst of it. You did not win because it was easy. You won because you never quit. Your scars are sacred reminders that the invisible wars you fought were not in vain. You have come out refined, radiant, and ready for the next command. Heaven smiles upon those who fought unseen. The strength that sustained you in private will sustain you in purpose. The unseen victories have prepared you for visible glory. The battles were hidden, but the reward will not be. Your name was spoken in light, somewhere in the unseen realm. Your story was mentioned, and heaven responded. The moment your name was released through divine breath, angels began to move. The same God who called stars by name whispered, "Yours." And everything that once resisted now recognizes that call. What felt like coincidence is actually orchestration. What felt delayed is now in divine acceleration. For so long, you carried the weight of feeling unseen. You walked through days where your efforts seemed unnoticed, where you questioned if heaven had overlooked your faithfulness. But now, the light finds you, not because you forced it, but because destiny always remembers its own. What belongs to you cannot stay hidden forever. When heaven speaks your name, the atmosphere changes. Doors that refuse to open begin to yield. Conversations shift in your favor. People who once ignored your voice start to feel drawn to your presence, and they won't even know why. It's because divine favor has marked you. It rests on you like dawn after a long night. As declared in the book of Psalms, chapter 75, verse 6, "For promotion comes neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He puts down one and sets up another." And so, you are being set up not by people, but by purpose. God Himself is arranging the stage where your light will shine. You don't need to chase validation or strive for attention. Just as the sun never begs the sky to notice it, your calling will not beg to be recognized. The light within you will naturally rise because it is time. Every season of obscurity was necessary. It taught you humility, compassion, and endurance. You learned to serve quietly, to grow unseen, to pray when no one was listening. Those lessons built a foundation strong enough to sustain your elevation. Many are visible too soon and fall because they have roots too shallow, but not you. You took time to grow deep before you rose high. Now, heaven calls you forward. You are not being lifted to impress others. You are being positioned to illuminate them. Your breakthrough is not just for you. It's a torch that lights the path for those who walk behind you. That's what makes your name radiant in heaven's sight. Chosen one. Before we go further, take a breath and acknowledge this moment. If these words touch your spirit, if you feel the warmth of divine confirmation stirring in your chest, let it remind you, you are not forgotten. You are seen, known, and loved. If this message lights something within you, gently tap like as a way of saying, "I see the light too." If you feel someone else wandering in darkness might need this same spark, share it like passing a candle to another soul still finding their flame. And if you wish to keep walking in this light, subscribe. Think of it not as joining a channel, but as walking a trail where the fire never dies. And if your heart feels stirred quietly, freely you may donate, not as a transaction, but as planting a seed in the soil of revelation. Every gift, whether prayer, encouragement, or offering, becomes a ripple of light that helps carry this message farther. Your gift is a whisper that says, "Let the light keep burning." It is never demanded, only invited. Giving is not about amount, it's about alignment. It's the quiet whisper of a grateful heart, saying, "Yes, Lord, I recognize what you're doing, and I want to be part of it." So if your spirit feels moved, do so with joy, knowing that even the smallest seed, when planted in love, grows into something eternal. You have already given so much through your endurance, your faith, your courage. Whether you give through sharing this message, through prayer, or through a financial seed, all are forms of the same, offering worship through gratitude. Your name was spoken in light, and now your steps will follow that light. Every act of kindness, every word of faith, Every seed of generosity becomes part of the glow that surrounds your journey. You are no longer walking through shadow, you are walking through favor. Lift your head high. The one who called you by name is not done with you yet. The same voice that spoke light into the void now speaks direction into your path. You are being positioned not by chance, but by choice, the divine choice that said, "You are mine." Heaven is watching. Earth is aligning. And your story is no longer hidden in silence. It is spoken in light. Signs and wonders are forming around you. You might not have noticed it yet, but the atmosphere has changed. What once felt immovable now stirs beneath divine breath. The weight in the air is lighter. Your spirit senses something sacred shifting. Heaven is unveiling the things it once hid. And the evidence of answered prayers begins to shimmer like dawn after rain. The signs are small. At first, a word that brings peace. Un unexpected message. A door that quietly opens. Each one is heaven's handwriting across the ordinary. Where there was confusion, there is now clarity. Where exhaustion once lived, new strength quietly takes its place. The impossible begins to unfold without effort, not because you forced it, but because grace has reached maturity. Sometimes God's wonders arrive like whispers, not thunder. They don't shake mountains, they reshape hearts. The miracle begins the moment you realize you are no longer afraid of the same things. Peace has replaced panic, and trust has replaced trying. That is a sign too, a holy one. Heaven's timing has always been perfect. Every delay was divine design, every still moment a preparation. What looked like nothing happening was heaven setting the stage. Now the curtain rises, and what once made no sense becomes the story of your transformation. As written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Chosen one. This is that new thing. You have stepped into the season where God's hand moves openly. The wilderness is blooming. The wasteland is flowing with water. Every unanswered prayer begins to find its reply. Every promise, long buried, begins to breathe. The world around you may still look ordinary, but the rhythm underneath has changed. The heavens have already declared a new order, and your life is aligning with it. The weight you once carried is lifting because it served its purpose. It built the endurance needed to stand here. Now, unshakable. And now, as heaven marks this transition, type the number 555 in the comments. This number is more than digits. It's a declaration of divine change. It represents grace multiplied. The moment heaven's favor meets your faith and says, "Move forward." When you write 555, let it be your way of saying, "I welcome transformation. I trust the shift." It is not a superstition, it's a symbol. It's the sound of agreement between your spirit and the wind of change now blowing through your life. Every major turning point carries a number in heaven's language, and 555 is the code for renewal. When you comment it, imagine laying down the old weight and stepping barefoot onto new soil already blessed and waiting for your footprints. You are no longer waiting for signs, you have become one. Your presence radiates change. People feel peace when you enter a room because you carry the fragrance of new beginnings. The same spirit that moved over the waters now moves through your words, through your choices, through your very breath. Be sensitive to the whispers around you. A chance encounter, a sentence spoken in passing, a song that suddenly stirs, tears. These are not random. They are heaven's confirmations stitched into your daily rhythm. You are walking in divine synchronization. Every step echoes eternity's plan. The shift will not come with chaos. It will come with calm. You will simply realize one morning that the struggle you feared has lost its grip. That provision has arrived quietly. That peace has settled like morning dew. That is how God works, not through noise, but through knowing. This is your turning season. What was heavy will become holy. What was delayed will now be delivered. Miracles are not approaching, they are unfolding. The air around you hums with divine activity, the kind that does not announce itself, but leaves evidence everywhere it touches. So, look up. You are standing in the center of change, and the number 555 is heaven's gentle reminder that grace is multiplying. Breathe deeply. It's all new now. You will soon see that this change is not fragile. It is fortified by grace. The old chapters will not reopen, for heaven has sealed them. What comes now is growth without grief, movement without fear. When you typed 555, you didn't just comment, you aligned. Those numbers became your signature on a covenant of renewal. Every seed of obedience you've sown now awakens, watered by multiplied mercy. So, walk forward. The wind behind you is divine assistance. The path ahead glows with purpose. What began as a whisper of promise now unfolds as living proof. You are standing in God's newness. The weight you carried was training. For a long time, you misunderstood it, thinking it was punishment or delay. You saw others move faster, succeed easier, rest while you kept fighting, and you wondered if heaven had skipped your turn. But what you didn't see was that the load on your shoulders was not meant to crush you, it was meant to craft you. Every burden you bore was a lesson in disguise. Every disappointment was a teacher, shaping endurance in your soul. The nights you cried were classrooms where heaven taught you how to stand when no one applauded. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. Strength does not come from ease, it is forged in resistance. There were seasons when your faith felt stretched to breaking. You questioned, why so heavy? Why me? Yet now, when you look back, you see the pattern. The weight built wisdom. It disciplined your emotions, sharpened your discernment, and humbled your heart. Without those long nights, you would not know how to move with such grace now. You were trained in the secret places to carry blessings in public without breaking. God does not send the weight to destroy you. He sends it to teach your spirit balance. Like a blacksmith testing steel in fire, heaven was testing your capacity. Every extra ounce of pressure was preparation for the influence you now carry. You cannot hold glory if you have not learned to hold weight. As spoken in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Chosen one. This was your process. What others called delay was really development. While they ran ahead, chasing attention, you were being anchored. The roots that grew during your waiting are the same ones that will now keep you stable when the wind of elevation blows. Think of an eagle before it soars. It spends time strengthening its wings against the wind. The resistance builds the muscle for flight. You were the same. The pressure, the waiting, the stretching it all built wings. And now, when others tire, you will rise higher because your endurance was not borrowed. It was earned. Every betrayal you faced taught you clarity. Every silence taught you stillness. Every loss taught you gratitude. These were not punishments, they were promotions in disguise. You learned how to trust God beyond what your eyes could see. You learned that faith is not fragile emotion, it's anchored truth. There is a certain peace that only the trained heart understands. It's the peace of someone who has wrestled with God and found purpose in the struggle. You have that now. You no longer panic when pressure rises, because you've seen pressure turn into purpose before. You no longer collapse when the path feels uncertain, because you've walked blind and still arrived in grace. The weight you carried was divine exercise. It strengthened your spiritual spine so you could stand under greater glory without bending. Others may look at you now and see confidence, but heaven sees endurance wrapped in humility. You are not proud, you are proven. Every challenge that once felt unbearable now serves as proof of your preparation. You can love without fear, lead without ego, and wait without complaint. That is the fruit of training. God trusted you with pain because He saw the strength that would rise from it. The anointing that rests upon you now was pressed out through those very trials. You may not have received medals or applause for surviving what you did, but heaven recorded it all. Angels stood watch each time you chose faith over frustration. Surrender or control. They marked every victory won in secret. And now those records speak for you in the unseen realm. You carry authority not because of title, but because of endurance. The weight you once despised has become your strength. You have learned to walk through fire without losing your song, to bend under burden, but never break. That is what makes you chosen, not perfection, but perseverance. So walk lightly now, not because the journey is easy, but because you are stronger. The same hands that trained you under pressure now lift you into purpose. The storms that once taught you survival will now obey your command. You have graduated from training into triumph. Remember this, the wait was never wasted. It was heaven's way of shaping you into someone capable of carrying miracles. Every moment you spent holding on has produced something eternal. You are ready now not just to receive blessing, but to sustain it. The tables turn overnight. One moment, everything looks still unchanged, unmoved, and then, without warning, the balance shifts. What once stood against you begins to fall away, and what was withheld begins to reach for you. The same ground that felt barren suddenly bursts with growth. You cannot always predict when it happens, but when God decides that the waiting is over, everything rearranges itself in your favor. Divine reversals never come gradually, they come suddenly. Heaven moves like lightning when the appointed hour arrives. The same winds that once carried dust and disappointment begin to carry favor and opportunity. You will stand in rooms that once rejected you, not by demand, but by divine design. The very people who questioned your value will have to speak of your strength. It is not revenge, it's revelation. God never humiliates your enemies. He educates them. He allows them to see what they once dismissed, not to shame them, but to reveal His fingerprints on your life. Those who whispered behind your back will be witnesses to your restoration. The tables turn so that truth can be seen clearly, even by those who doubted. In the Chronicles of Esther's courage, we find the words, chapter 9, verse 1. On the 13th day of the 12th month, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but now the tables were turned, and the Jews got the upper hand over those who hated them. End of free. You are standing in that kind of moment. The turning has begun. The very areas where you once felt powerless are now responding to your authority. The season that once drained you is now refilling you. The same soil that felt cursed is now blooming under your feet. This is not luck or coincidence. It is divine reversal in action. When God turns the tables, He doesn't just lift you, He repositions everything around you. Situations, people, even time itself begins to work for you. What was locked becomes open. What was denied becomes delivered. Heaven rewrites the story in real time, and every wrong turn starts to make sense. You may wake up one morning and feel it a quiet, knowing that the heaviness has lifted, that the tide has changed. There won't always be fireworks. Sometimes the turning comes through peace. That stillness you feel isn't absence, it's assurance. It's heaven saying, "You can rest now. I've taken over." Think about Joseph, once imprisoned, forgotten, and suddenly summoned to interpret Pharaoh's dream. One conversation changed his entire life. The same God who moved then is moving now. You don't need to fight for the spotlight. The spotlight will find you when the tables turn. You only need to stay aligned, faithful, and ready. Every hardship that once felt unfair is now working as testimony. The rejection that once cut deep has become redirection. The betrayal that felt like the end became the birthplace of wisdom. The same storm that threw you down has now positioned you higher. When heaven turns things, nothing is wasted. You may notice that people who once walked away start to look back. Some will apologize. Others will simply observe. Don't hold grudges, hold grace. The turning is not about proving them wrong. It's about showing how right God was to keep His hand on you. Mercy, not pride, is the crown of those who overcome. When you were being prepared, it felt like subtraction. But this turning feels like restoration multiplied. The losses are being rewritten into lessons, the delays into direction. You don't have to chase vindication. Divine justice moves faster and deeper than human defense. Your peace will speak louder than your explanation ever could. In the quietness of this new day, feel the difference. The heaviness that once clung to your spirit is gone because heaven has shifted the weight. What used to resist you is now working with you. You are walking in a current of favor, and it shows. The tables have turned, not because of what you did, but because of who you became. You chose integrity over impulse, grace over bitterness, faith over fear, and heaven took note. Now the scales have balanced in your favor, and the story that began with breaking is ending with breakthrough. So take this moment in silence. Don't rush it. Let gratitude settle in your heart like soft rain. The turning you prayed for is here, and it will not turn back again. Every sunrise from now on will remind you that reversal is real. What once hurt you will now heal others through the testimony of your transformation. The tables have turned completely. Grace sits where grief once ruled. This is not the end of your story. It is the unfolding of divine fulfillment. The crown of the overcomer is being placed upon you, not one of gold or jewels, but one forged in fire and faith. You have endured, resisted, and risen again. The weight that once tried to break you has instead proven your worthiness to wear glory. Heaven does not crown those who never fall. It crowns those who fall, yet rise stronger. You have been through battles unseen, but your victories have been witnessed by heaven itself. The scars you carry are no longer marks of pain. They are medals of divine survival. Each one tells a story of grace, of endurance, of the unshakable spirit that refused to be silenced. You are the proof that perseverance is stronger than persecution. When God crowns an overcomer, it is not for status, but for stewardship. You are now entrusted with what you once prayed for. The pain prepared you to carry what others could not. The lessons of loss became your leadership. Every challenge shaped you into a vessel that can hold both power and humility. It is revealed in the book of Revelation. Chapter 3. Verset 11. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. This crown is not fragile. It is not made of human recognition or applause. It is forged from the moments you refused to quit, from the prayers you whispered when no one else believed, from the love you showed when the world grew cold. It is invisible to the eyes of men, but radiant in the eyes of heaven. You are crowned because you conquered not others, but yourself. You mastered fear, silenced doubt, and chose peace when you could have chosen revenge. This is divine royalty, not about superiority. But surrender. The true crown sits on the heads of those who serve with purity and walk with grace. Your voice carries new authority now. When you speak, heaven listens differently. You are no longer asking for survival. You are decreeing destiny. The same storms that once intimidated you now bow to your command. Your faith has matured into spiritual dominion. You have reached a turning point where what once wounded you now obeys you. The enemy recognizes your authority because it watched you endure every test without abandoning your faith. You are no longer defined by what you went through. You are defined by what you overcame. And now, the time has come to declare what heaven already knows about you. Comment: I wear victory. Oh, when you type those words, understand their meaning. It is not pride, it is prophecy. You are not wearing defeat, disappointment, or delay anymore. You are clothed in the evidence of triumph. Every fiber of your being carries the fragrance of victory. This simple declaration is your acknowledgement of what God has completed within you. Say it with conviction, not as a shout, but as a steady truth rising from your soul. Let it echo through the unseen, reaching the same angels that watched you fight. It is your way of saying, the crown fits now, chosen one. This is your coronation. The invisible crown that has long hovered above you has finally descended. It's resting on the head of one who has learned what real strength means, the kind that loves, forgives, and stands when standing hurts. The overcomer's crown carries responsibility. It is a reminder to walk gently, to guide others who are still in their battles, to shine without arrogance. The same grace that crowned you will sustain you, and the same mercy that lifted you will keep you humble. So walk forward wearing what heaven has placed upon you. The crown is unseen but undeniable. It glows in the way you speak peace, in the way you forgive quickly, in the way you refuse to fear tomorrow. The crown is your confirmation that you made it through what tried to bury you. You were crushed but not destroyed. bent but never broken. The crown says, "This one belongs to victory. Carry it with reverence, not pride. You are not above others. You are simply proof that grace prevails. Your journey has become a beacon, your endurance a message, your faith a flame that darkness cannot extinguish. Now rise, crowned and calm. The storm has served its purpose. The crown sits steady, and heaven watches as you step into your destiny, no longer surviving, but reigning in quiet authority. The moment you whispered, "I wear victory," heaven heard more than words, it heard recognition. That phrase is not for applause, it's awareness. You finally understand that endurance was your anointing in disguise. When you declare it, the unseen aligns. Every defeat loses authority. You're not chasing triumph anymore, you're living inside it. Breathing proof that faith always finishes what fear begins. From wilderness to witness, what a journey it has been. The very ground that once swallowed your tears now carries the evidence of your breakthrough. You walked through barren places where nothing seemed to grow, where even hope felt dry. Yet through every desolate path, heaven was guiding you quietly, step by step, toward the fulfillment you now begin to see. The wilderness was not punishment, it was purification. It stripped away noise, illusion, and false dependence, until all that remained was the raw, honest version of you, stronger, steadier, and ready for destiny. The silence that once frightened you became a sanctuary where God could speak without interruption. Every unanswered prayer in that place was actually an invitation to deeper trust. Now, look around. You are not in that desert anymore. The same path that once hurt your feet now shines beneath them. The wilderness has turned into witness. Your story is no longer one of survival, it is testimony. You are living proof that even in the driest season, the seeds of faith will find water. As spoken in the book of Isaiah, chapter 35, verse 1. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom like the rose. That is what is happening in you. The desert is rejoicing. The places in your heart that once felt lifeless are now blooming again. What once made you weep now makes you worship. Your wilderness has become the canvas where God paints His glory, and your scars are now the signature of His mercy. Every step through the wilderness was a rehearsal for revelation. You learned endurance in the drought so that you could recognize abundance when it came. You learned to find joy without reason so that when blessing arrived, gratitude would flow like a river. You became a witness not because life was easy, but because grace was real. If these words echo something inside you, if they touch a part of your story that remembers the desert, let this moment breathe. Don't rush past it. Every sentence you just heard was written for a reason, to remind you that you made it, and to awaken your heart to what's next. Now, as a gentle act of faith and alignment, if this message has blessed you, take a moment to like it, not as routine, but as a way of saying, I see myself in this story. No, if you know someone still wandering through their own wilderness, share this message with them like leaving a trail of light for another traveler to follow. And if you want to keep walking this path of renewal, subscribe. Think of it as choosing to stay close to a fire that keeps your faith warm when the nights grow cold. Finally, if your heart feels moved, you may give or donate, not as obligation, but as a way of watering the same ground that once watered you. Think of it like planting a tree in soil that gave you shade. Your gift becomes a branch that stretches farther, reaching hearts you may never meet, but whose deserts will one day bloom because you helped. It is never demanded, only offered. You give not because you must, but because you can, because generosity is the language of those who have walked through wilderness and found grace on the other side. What you sow in love always multiplies in light. Your support through a word, a share, a seed keeps this light moving, reaching more souls who are still trying to find their way out of the dry place. It's not about transaction, it's participation. You are joining a flow of faith that transcends distance and time. The wilderness season built depth in you. It taught you compassion, patience, empathy, and strength. Now, as you give, in whatever form you can time, kindness, prayer, or support, you become part of the story of someone else's survival. You become the witness who once walked through drought and now carries living water for others. You are not the same as you once were. You have walked through deserts and found springs. You have wrestled with silence and discovered song. The proof of your transformation is not only in your words, but in your gentleness. You no longer need to explain your growth. Your presence itself is the testimony. This is your new identity, not the wanderer, but the witness, the one who testifies that grace is enough, that hope can bloom even in dust. And as you walk forward, remember every generous act, every shared light, every sincere word is part of your offering to the world. The wilderness made you a witness so that others might believe through your story. Walk in that truth, radiant and free. You are no longer searching for life in the desert. You are carrying life wherever you go. Restoration in multiples. That is what this season carries for you. Not the simple return of what was lost, but the multiplied restoration of what you once believed was gone forever. Heaven does not return things in fragments. It restores in overflow. Every seed you sowed in tears has matured into harvests that now come from directions you could not predict. For so long, you gave without seeing results. You prayed without evidence. You forgave without closure. And you kept walking without clarity. You thought your efforts disappeared into silence, but they were planted in eternity's soil. Heaven has been cultivating those seeds all along. And now the roots have broken through the unseen, pushing up into visibility. What comes next will feel both familiar and brand new. You will see faces, opportunities, and blessings that remind you of things you lost, but brighter, healthier, and whole. The relationships once broken will return with understanding. The doors once closed will reopen wider. The dreams once buried will breathe again, not in fragments, but in fullness. Restoration always begins quietly. It starts in small things, a call you didn't expect, a peace you can't explain, a sudden sense that life is flowing again. You may not notice it at first, but it's happening. What was once empty is being refilled. What was once taken is returning, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. We find in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the great locust and the young locust, the other locusts and the locust swarm, my great army that I sent among you. Those words were not only for an ancient nation, they are for you now. The years that seemed wasted, the seasons that looked fruitless, the time that felt stolen, heaven is restoring it. Every delay, every heartbreak, every detour is being rewritten into destiny. You will not receive back what was lost. You will receive better. God never returns things in the same condition. He resurrects them stronger. The beauty of restoration is that it doesn't erase the past. It redeems it. What once embarrassed you becomes your wisdom. What once broke you becomes your power. The same story that once made you weep will one day make others believe again. You will begin to see the pieces fit together, conversations aligning, opportunities connecting, timing unfolding like a divine puzzle. You won't have to force it this time. The restoration coming your way is not earned through effort, it's drawn through alignment. The moment your spirit surrendered, the process began. Restoration also means rest. You no longer have to chase what belongs to you. The blessings assigned to your name will find you even in your stillness. The same hands that lifted you through the storm will now deliver abundance to your door. There is no striving in this season, only receiving. There is something deeply holy about the way restoration feels. It's gentle but undeniable. It doesn't arrive with noise, but it leaves undeniable evidence. You'll see it in your relationships, your peace, your finances, your health, your creativity, and even your confidence. You'll realize that nothing was truly lost. It was simply being transformed beyond your view. Every tear you shed watered something you couldn't yet see. Now the soil has broken open, and life is emerging. You are standing in fields of answered prayer, and the fragrance of favor is all around you. The years that felt empty are suddenly overflowing. Restoration also brings perspective. You'll look back on what hurt you and whisper, "Thank you. It had to happen," because now you see what the pain produced: strength, empathy, vision. You'll realize you were never losing. You were being upgraded. Soon you'll notice blessings coming in clusters. Not single events, but continuous streams. One miracle will unlock another. You will learn to live in rhythm with favor, where gratitude becomes your new normal. You won't be chasing miracles anymore. You'll be walking inside them. Heaven's restoration is not just a recovery, it's renewal. The broken places are not merely repaired, they're rebuilt with beauty. The empty hands that once trembled now overflow, with evidence of divine promise kept. This is your restoration in multiples: peace, returning deeper, joy louder, purpose clearer. You are walking in abundance not because you demanded it, but because you endured long enough to be trusted with it. And as restoration settles around you, remember this truth: what was once shattered now shines brighter for having been broken. The cracks let light through, and that light will guide others home. Your restoration is not just yours, it's heaven's testimony written through your life. Eternal and undeniable. The miracle is not waiting, it is moving. You may not see its full form yet, but the signs are already surrounding you. The air feels charged, as though every breath carries new potential. The things that once felt far away are now leaning closer, and you can sense a divine unfolding that words can barely describe. Your faith has finally reached its echo. The prayers whispered in your weakest moments have found their reply. Heaven has synchronized its rhythm with your perseverance. And what once felt delayed is now accelerating. You are no longer standing in expectation, you are standing in manifestation. Sometimes, the miracle begins in motion long before it arrives in sight. You begin to notice coincidences that aren't coincidences at all. Conversations that seem divinely timed. Doors that open without knocking. Everything is rearranging itself to align with what heaven has declared over you. There's a holy tension in this kind of season, the in-between space where what was promised is meeting what is present. You feel it deep inside, a trembling that's not fear, but recognition. Something sacred is stepping into the visible. It was proclaimed in the book of Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 9. Do I bring to the moment of birth and not give delivery, says the Lord? Do I close up the womb when I bring to delivery? That question from heaven is an assurance you are too close to be denied. The contractions of delay were never punishment. They were preparation. Every wave of waiting was pushing your promise closer to delivery. Chosen one, this is that moment. You can sense the spiritual alignment, the shift, the clarity, the unexpected ease that wasn't there before. The resistance has weakened because its purpose is fulfilled. The lesson is learned, and the path is open. And now, as a sign of faith, comment the number 888. Oh, this number carries the essence of new beginnings wrapped in eternal cycles. It means the old has completed, and the new flows without interruption. It represents divine renewal, the moment when grace repeats itself, layer upon layer, blessing upon blessing. When you write 888, let it be your personal confirmation. I am stepping into overflow. I am aligned with what heaven has begun. This act is not superstition, it is synchronization. Every time someone types it, it becomes a sound in the unseen, a chorus of faith echoing across time and space. Your miracle in motion is not random, it's rhythmic. It's like the tide returning after years of drought. You can feel its approach in the way peace has replaced panic, and gratitude has replaced striving. This is what divine delivery feels like. It sneaks in quietly, and suddenly everything starts to make sense. Think of how far you've come. The days when you questioned if any of this mattered, when it felt like heaven had fallen silent, yet here you stand, watching the first ripples of what you once only imagined. The weight refined you. The silence strengthened you. And now the reward will reveal you. Miracles move fastest in hearts that have learned stillness. You no longer have to chase what belongs to you. It knows its way home. What once required effort will now unfold through ease. The same God who began the process is perfecting it even now. There will be moments in the coming days when you'll pause mid-thought and realize something shifted. Worry dissolves. Help arrives. Joy returns. Don't question it. That's what movement looks like when heaven breathes on your circumstances. And if you ever start to doubt, remember this truth. Miracles don't always roar. Sometimes they hum. They move through peace, through alignment, through your quiet yes to timing beyond your control. Your yes has already opened doors you can't yet see. The miracle is not coming toward you, it is flowing through you. You have become the vessel, the carrier of manifestation itself. Every step you take now is divine proof that faith was not wasted. The motion you feel is not illusion, it's invitation. Heaven is asking you to walk forward with your eyes open, your spirit steady, your gratitude alive. The very ground beneath you has become holy, because it now holds the footprints of fulfillment. The miracle has entered the room. It moves when you move, breathes when you breathe. This is the rhythm of divine delivery, and you are standing in its center. Every time you declare 888, You aren't typing a number, you're opening a gate. It's your silent agreement that what began in heaven is now alive on earth through you. Let that declaration echo. It means renewal, rhythm, restoration. It's heaven's whisper reminding you. The miracle didn't just arrive, it chose to stay. Enemies turned messengers. That is how heaven works. The very people who once spoke against you, doubted you, or dismissed your calling are now being used to carry proof of your purpose. What was meant to harm you has become the vehicle of your elevation. The voices that once tried to silence you now echo your name, not in mockery, but in awe. When God decides to vindicate you, He does not need your defense. He turns opposition into confirmation. Every word of criticism, every false rumor, every door slammed in your face, all of it becomes a stepping stone toward your destiny. You see, what was meant to block your way has built your way. There was a time when their rejection broke your heart. You wondered why those you helped became distant, why loyalty turned into betrayal. But now, with new eyes, you can see it clearly. They had to leave for your purpose to breathe. Their absence made room for your anointing to expand. The pain they caused pushed you closer to the one who never left. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Genesis, chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Those words are a mirror of your story. The very opposition that was designed to break you has become the evidence of your resilience. Your enemies were never your end, they were your educators. Through their resistance, you learned strategy. Through their betrayal, you learned discernment. Through their silence, you learned to listen to heaven's voice above the noise. Now watch how the divine reversal unfolds. The same mouths that once spoke against you will speak on your behalf. The same platforms that once ignored you will highlight you. Those who once turned their backs will turn again, not out of pity, but recognition. They will see what they could not before, that you were chosen. This isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. God never humiliates those who oppose His people. He humbles them. He shows them His hand through your story. Their eyes will open to see that grace has always been greater than gossip, that favor cannot be fabricated, and that truth stands long after lies fade away. Your journey is proof that love outlasts envy. The peace you carry now is not the absence of enemies, but the presence of perspective. You no longer need to explain yourself or defend your path. Heaven has already done that for you through undeniable outcomes. The evidence of favor speaks louder than any defense ever could. And remember this, some who once opposed you were never truly enemies. They were mirrors reflecting what still needed healing in you. Their rejection exposed your strength. Their doubt tested your faith. And now, because of them, you are stronger, wiser, and softer all at once. That is divine mastery, when opposition makes you more compassionate instead of more bitter. Soon, you will witness conversations shifting in places you cannot enter. People will mention your name, not in jealousy, but in reverence. What once was mockery will turn to admiration. And through it all, your heart will remain humble because you know who orchestrated the turnaround. God can take the arrows aimed at your back and forge them into bridges beneath your feet. Every word meant to wound now carries you higher. Every attempt to tear you down becomes the stage where grace reveals itself. That's the paradox of divine justice. It doesn't destroy your enemies. It transforms their intentions into blessings. You will no longer see them as obstacles, but as unlikely witnesses without realizing it. They have testified to your endurance. Even their resistance proved that your calling was real, because nothing false is fought so fiercely. So walk forward with calm authority. You don't need to defend your story. The very ones who tried to discredit it will one day protect it. You are living proof that light always turns opposition into opportunity. Enemies turned messengers. Betrayal turned into revelation. Wounds turned into wisdom. It all served you. It all pushed you closer to the fulfillment that was written from the beginning. And when you look back, you will smile, not in pride, but in peace, because you'll finally understand that nothing was wasted. Not even the war. Even the voices that once cursed, you will become carriers of blessing, without knowing it. They are spreading the sound of your testimony farther than you ever could. Grace has rewritten every accusation into affirmation. The story has turned, and your peace now speaks louder than any explanation ever will. You carry resurrection power, not the kind that only revives what was once alive, but the kind that calls forth what has never been seen before. You are walking proof that God still brings life out of loss and strength out of sorrow. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the grave now breathes through you, awakening what others declared finished. There were seasons when everything around you seemed to die: dreams, relationships, opportunities. It felt like the air left the room, like hope had taken its last breath. But what you didn't see was that heaven was clearing the stage for something eternal to rise. Before resurrection comes stillness, before new life. There must be surrender. You didn't realize it. But the graves you stood over were temporary. The things you buried in tears were never truly gone. They were only waiting for the command of divine timing. God doesn't waste death. He turns endings into beginnings so that His glory can be undeniable. According to what is revealed in the book of John, chapter 11, verse 25, Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die." And that promise is the heartbeat of your journey. The power that raised Lazarus still flows through faith. What you thought was beyond repair is already stirring again. The dreams that seemed lifeless are twitching with new breath. You are about to witness life emerge from the very ground that once represented defeat. Resurrection doesn't always look miraculous at first. It begins in whispers, a spark of creativity after long silence, a sudden peace after grief, a quiet idea that won't die, no matter how you try to forget it. That's how heaven announces rebirth, gently, persistently, unmistakably. Every season of death taught you something essential about life. You learned that endings are not punishments, they are portals. You discovered that when something precious is buried, it isn't gone, it's planted. And when it rises again, it comes up multiplied. That is the mystery of resurrection. It gives back more than it took. You have seen this truth unfold in your own story. What was lost came back stronger. The voice that was silenced now speaks with clarity. The love that was broken now extends farther. Even your pain has become purpose. That is resurrection in motion. Sometimes God lets things die because He knows you would never let go otherwise. You would cling to comfort, familiarity, or routine. But when it falls apart, you have no choice but to depend on divine renewal. That dependency opens the door for miracles. You are now living in the aftermath of divine breath. Every time you smile again, heaven celebrates. Every step you take into peace is another proof that the grave could not hold your promise. You carry the scent of resurrection everywhere you go, the aroma of someone who has been through darkness and found dawn. Those who meet you sense something different. They can't name it, but they feel it. It's the quiet strength of someone who has seen both death and deliverance. You no longer fear endings, because you've learned that they're simply invitations to rise again. The same Spirit that comforted you in the valley now equips you on the mountaintop. You've been through enough to know that every loss carries hidden life. Every silence carries an echo of new sound. And every closed tomb hides a miracle in progress. Do not doubt the process that brought you here. What died in the past was necessary. What lives now is eternal. You are not merely surviving, you are sustaining new life for others through your testimony. You speak and dormant things awaken. You walk and weary hearts find strength. That is the essence of resurrection power. It multiplies life wherever it goes. Even your voice is resurrection. It carries hope into hopelessness, light into despair. Every word you speak now drips with authority because it's been purified through pain. You don't speak theory, you speak testimony. That is why your words will heal others. They are alive. So walk forward knowing this. Nothing truly dies in God's hands. Not you, not your dream, not your purpose. The same Spirit that revived your heart will continue breathing through your steps. You are not merely a witness of resurrection, you are its carrier. Every space you enter becomes a pulse of renewal. The atmosphere shifts because you carry proof that light can rise from ashes. And that hope never stays buried for long. Resurrection is not an event, it's your essence. Every heartbeat declares restoration. Every breath whispers revival. You are living evidence that nothing surrendered to God ever truly dies. The rise of the new you can feel it, something within has shifted forever. The old version of you, the one who carried guilt, fear, and the weight of constant proving, has been laid to rest. From the quiet ruins of who you once were, something radiant has emerged. This is not reinvention, it is resurrection in identity. You are walking in a new skin now. The timidity that once tethered your steps has loosened, and courage has taken its place. You speak differently because your spirit has matured through the fire. The new you does not chase validation, you carry vision. You no longer seek to be seen, for you have become light itself. It is written in the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 24. Put on the new self, created to be like God, in true righteousness and holiness. That is what you are doing now, putting on the new self. You are not dressing yourself in pretense or perfection, but in peace. You are clothed in purpose, wrapped in awareness, adorned in authenticity. The new you no longer hides from the world. You face it with eyes wide open, unafraid of the reflections staring back at you. This rebirth did not come easily. You shed layers, expectations, disappointments, old patterns that could not carry your future. You bled for this peace. You cried for this calm. But look at you now. You are breathing in rhythm with heaven. Steady, sure, restored. The mirror no longer reflects your wounds. It reveals your wisdom. You are the proof that transformation does not always happen in a flash of light. Sometimes it happens in quiet mornings, in simple choices, in the decision to keep showing up when no one notices. The new you was born not in applause, but in endurance. And now, heaven trusts you to carry influence, because you have learned to hold it gently. You've entered the season where you don't need to announce your glow. It speaks on its own. People will notice peace before they notice presence. They will feel safety when you walk in the room, not because you changed your tone, but because your soul learned rest. And as you listen to these words, if you feel them echo in your chest, if you recognize that something inside you has quietly risen too, take a moment. Tap like, not for me, but for yourself, as a small celebration of how far you've come. Think of it as setting a candle at the edge of your own resurrection, saying, I see the light in me now. Lon, if someone you know is still standing in their ashes, share this message with them. Imagine it as handing them a match, a soft flame of reminder that they too will rise when their season turns. Your simple share might be the spark that lights their healing, and if your heart feels drawn to stay connected, subscribe, not to a page, but to a path, a trail of messages that remind your spirit that it is still seen, still growing, still held by something holy. Think of it as walking together toward dawn, step by step, faith by faith. Finally, if this journey has watered your spirit and you feel led, you may donate, not because you owe, but because you overflow. Imagine it as pouring a little water back into the well that refreshed you. Every drop you give becomes another voice, another story touched, another soul lifted out of its own desert. It is never demanded, only invited. You give not because you must, but because you can, because generosity is the language of those who have walked through wilderness and found grace on the other side. What you sow in love always multiplies in light. If a single phrase from this message resonates with your heart, write it in the comments. Let your words be like seeds left in sacred soil, each one a quiet declaration that you have risen. Your comment becomes a footprint of gratitude for this new beginning. The new you no longer needs to strive. You have found your rhythm, grace moving through gratitude, abundance flowing through awareness. Every act of love you give now is multiplied, not by measure, but by meaning. So, walk gently but boldly. You are not who you were. You are the after story of endurance, the living echo of grace fulfilled. This is your rise, your becoming, your unfolding, and the world is waiting to feel the warmth of the new you. The dawn has no rush, and neither do you. Every sunrise now carries your reflection renewed, peaceful, unafraid. The world doesn't need a new light. It simply needed you awakened. Heaven celebrates your completion. There is a stillness in the air now, a sacred quiet that feels like applause from the unseen. The journey has not been simple, but every step has been sanctified. What began in trembling has ended in triumph, and the echo of your obedience resounds through realms you cannot yet see. You have fulfilled something heaven wrote long ago. Every trial, every tear, every unseen moment of endurance was part of a larger design, an ancient promise now completed through you. Angels who once guarded you in your breaking now rejoice at your becoming. You may not hear them, but the atmosphere around you hums with celebration. The assignment you carried in pain has turned into praise. Completion in heaven does not mean you have nothing left to do. It means the foundation has been laid. You are standing at the border of one finished chapter and the threshold of another. What once was struggle has turned to strength, and the weight that once pressed you down has now become your platform. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. That promise is your reality. What God began in you is not ending, it's evolving. Completion is not closure, it's confirmation. It means the roots have taken hold, the soil is ready, and the growth that follows will be effortless. You are no longer pushing to prove, you are flowing with purpose. The sound of heaven's celebration is not loud, it's luminous. It moves through peace, through the sudden sense of rest that settles in your heart. You may feel it in quiet moments when you sit alone and realize, I made it. That awareness itself is worship. Every heartbeat becomes hallelujah. Every breath becomes a thank you. You have finished the hard season. The wilderness has turned to witness, the burden to blessing, the valley to victory. The things that once wounded you are now your wisdom. The lessons that once felt cruel have become your compass. You have arrived not by chance, but by choice. Every day you decided to keep walking when quitting would have been easier. Completion doesn't erase the scars, it redeems them. The marks you carry are proof that grace outlasted grief. When heaven looks at you now, it sees victory glowing where pain once lived. The same hands that held you through the storm now place a seal of completion upon you, an invisible mark that says, this one has endured. Sometimes, the reward for finishing is not applause, but awareness. You no longer crave recognition because peace has taken its place. You don't need to explain your transformation. Your calmness explains it for you. You have learned to rest in the knowing that heaven's timeline is perfect. The celebration of heaven is not about fame or fortune, it is about faithfulness. It rejoices not because you won easily, but because you refused to give up. The chorus of heaven sings over those who finish with humility, who carry their crowns quietly, who remember that strength and surrender walk hand in hand. You are one of them now, the faithful ones, the finishers, the steady hearts who kept believing when nothing made sense. You didn't skip the fire, you walked through it. You didn't avoid the storm, you learned to command peace in the middle of it. And for that, heaven calls you complete. Completion does not mean you've reached perfection, it means you've reached alignment. You are now walking in rhythm with divine order. What once felt delayed was only being refined. The silence that once confused you was God carving depth into your faith. Every unanswered question has become part of your understanding. And as heaven celebrates, so does creation. Even the air around you carries new ease. The weight on your shoulders has been replaced by wings. You move differently now, not because the path changed, but because you did. Completion has given you vision. You can finally see the purpose behind every pain, the beauty within every breaking. You can look back at the path you once cursed and bless it now, knowing it brought you here to peace, to power, to purpose fulfilled. Heaven celebrates not just what you've done, but who you've become, a vessel of endurance, a carrier of light, a living story of grace in motion. So, rest in this moment. Let gratitude fill the spaces where striving once lived. You have completed what once seemed impossible. And the applause of heaven now surrounds you, not as sound, but as serenity. Your miracle has landed. You can feel it, not as an explosion, but as a calm certainty rising within you. The very air seems to vibrate with fulfillment. What you once begged for is now quietly unfolding, almost as if it had been waiting for your heart to be ready. Heaven's promise has descended into earth's reality, and the long-awaited someday has become now. You no longer need to search for signs. The evidence surrounds you. Peace where there was once panic. Clarity where confusion used to reign. Doors opening not by force, but by favor. Everything has aligned with divine precision. Each thread woven into a masterpiece that only time could reveal. You are standing in the middle of a miracle, and this time you recognize it. Miracles are rarely loud. They move in whispers, in details, in gentle shifts that only faith-filled eyes can see. You won't find them wrapped in spectacle. You'll find them in the simplicity of things finally fitting together. What once seemed random now feels purposeful. Every delay makes sense. Every detour has direction. The divine hand you once questioned is now visible in every outcome. The voice of God thundered in the book of Psalms, chapter 126, verse 3. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Arlen, this joy you feel is not fleeting happiness. It's completion humming through your bones. It's the deep exhale after years of holding your breath. The miracle has not only arrived around you, it has arrived in you. The person you've become is as miraculous as the blessings you now hold. The transformation was part of the gift. Think of how far you've come. The nights of crying into silence. The prayers whispered with shaking hands. The times you thought heaven had forgotten your name. Every single one of those moments has been redeemed in this one. Nothing was wasted. Every ounce of pain purchased this peace. You have learned that miracles do not begin with magic. They begin with surrender. They bloom when faith stays alive in the absence of evidence. Your endurance became the soil for divine manifestation. You believed when nothing moved. And because of that, everything is moving now. The miracle is not just the answered prayer, it's the patience that held you until it came. It's the wisdom that now replaces worry. The maturity that turns longing into gratitude. You no longer chase outcomes because you finally understand that you carry the atmosphere where miracles live. When heaven releases a miracle, it does not come empty. It carries new instructions. This season will not require striving, only stewardship. The blessings you now hold are sacred trusts. They are not trophies, they are tools. Through them, others will find faith again. The light resting on you now is not for decoration, it is for direction. It will guide those who are still wandering through their own nights of waiting. When they look at you, they will see that the wait was worth it. Your life itself will be their confirmation that God still keeps promises. There will be quiet mornings when you wake and realize how free you feel. That is also a miracle. To wake without anxiety, to breathe without heaviness, to hope without fear, these are wonders the world overlooks, but heaven treasures. Your miracle did not arrive in haste, it arrived in holiness. Every moment of waiting was the sound of heaven preparing the right time. You are living in that time now, the intersection where prophecy becomes proof. Look closely at your own reflection. You are not the same one who began this journey. The fear that once haunted your eyes is gone. The fire remains. but now it warms instead of burns. You are standing on the other side of what once felt endless, radiant with quiet victory. This is what fulfillment looks like: simple, sacred, serene. The noise of striving has faded, replaced by the melody of gratitude. You can finally rest in what has already been won. The miracle is not far away or fragile, it's within you, rooted, established, unshakable. And as heaven looks upon you now, it smiles. The story is complete, the promise kept, the word fulfilled. You are no longer waiting for the miracle, you are the miracle. Every ending is only a doorway disguised. Beyond this moment, new assignments wait, fresh grace, deeper love, wider light. Heaven never stops writing when faith keeps turning the page. So breathe, smile, and step forward. The ink of destiny is still wet with promise. Your miracle is living, moving, multiplying through every heartbeat you take. If these words have found you, it's because they were meant to. You've walked through every section, every whisper of truth. And now you stand at the edge of completion, not of the story, but of a season. And from here, the light widens. You've carried so much, learned deeply, and allowed grace to rewrite your path. This message is not just something to listen to, it's something to live. So before you move on, pause. Feel what is stirring inside you. That quiet warmth, that is heaven nodding, saying, yes, this is your moment. If your heart feels lighter, softly tap like, not as an act of support, but as a symbolic heartbeat, a way of saying, I recognize myself in this journey. Think of it as leaving a gentle footprint of gratitude in the sand of transformation. If someone comes to mind as you listen, share this message with them. Picture it like offering a lantern to someone still walking through the dark. One flame lighting another until an entire horizon glows. And if you wish to stay connected to this flow of light, subscribe, not to a screen, but to a rhythm, a living thread that keeps pulling you back to peace when life begins to blur again. It's not just following, it's choosing to keep the dialogue between heaven and your heart alive. Finally, if this message has filled your cup and you feel led, you may donate, not out of duty, but as a quiet act of continuation. Think of it like watering the roots that once nourished you. Every drop given helps this light reach further, touching lives that need the same reminder. You've just received that miracles still move through ordinary hearts. And if one sentence here speaks your truth, write it in the comments. Let your words rest like petals on living water, small, sincere, eternal. Together they become a garden of testimonies. Each bloom a reminder that grace still grows in every heart, willing to receive it. Your journey doesn't end here. It unfolds beyond this page, through every act of kindness, every breath of hope, every ripple your faith creates in the world. You are not just the listener, you are the continuation of the message.